Welcome to Hope, Healing, and Recovery. I'm an alcoholic named Brian. Before I do a reading from Jesus Calling today, I thought it would be cool to start with the serenity prayer. It's a simple little prayer, it's fast, and I really have found it super useful in the past. And so I just thought, why not? I'm just going to take a deep breath. And God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen. That is one of the most powerful prayers that I know of, and it's got me through some tough times. And then today, before I started with the reading, I thought it would be fun to talk about one of the fun places where alcohol brought me in the past. And this is a kind of a recent example. Let's dial back the hands of time a couple years to when I was working at an Applebee's. And I was homeless and living out back of the Applebee's in my old truck and my camper. And I have a buddy who we would go out, drinking once in a while. There's a couple bars really nearby. One of them's called Fahrenheit. The other one's called the Summit, and I don't know what got me on the tear that day, but I think I had started at the Summit and had a couple beers and then went to Applebee's and maybe had a couple more and maybe a bite to eat. And then I ended up at the Fahrenheit Lounge. And then that's where I kind of don't remember, started to not remember too much there. I started to slip into a blackout. And then my buddy told me that apparently I had fallen asleep on one of the couches in the bar there, but the bartender knew me, and she, I guess, my buddy asked if he should wake me up, and she said just let him sleep. So they just let me sleep there on the couch there in the bar for I don't even know how long I slept. And then, anyways, somehow I got back to my truck, and at that time I had built a little like wooden box on the back of my truck, and the only way to get into it was to enter the cab and then crawl through that back window and into a small opening in that box. And then in the back, I had a kind of a little camping type setup. I had a cushion and everything to sleep on and whatnot. And well, when I woke up in the morning, I couldn't find my pants. And then I started looking. I looked all around the truck. I looked, kind of just. I did a circle around the truck. There was a little grassy knoll nearby, where sometimes I would take a leak or something, and I just thought, and I just could not find my pants. And then I started thinking, because I couldn't remember the night. I was like, what in the world? Where did I leave my pants? What happened to my pants? So I tried to think. I just could not. I just couldn't even come up with anything. So I had all the employees of Applebee's in a kind of a group text because there was other group texts going around. So I shot out a group text out of desperation that said, I was in blackout last night. Does anybody have any idea what happened to my pants? Well, nobody knew. Nobody knew. And that was later, that text became kind of embarrassing, but I really was hoping somebody could fill in the blanks there for me. And but no, there was no answers, and so I didn't know if, like, did I take them off somewhere out on the street somewhere? Was I dancing around naked, or I just had no clue. And then anyway, it turned out, like, say 3 days later, between the seat and the back cab of my truck, there's like a small opening like that, and well, maybe even a little narrower. But it turns out while I was squirming back into the my little camper box, it it inched my pants off of me a little bit at a time, and then they fell down in that thing. So they were there the whole time. It turns out that I hadn't been running around naked. I hadn't, gotten myself into any strange hot water there. But I know that that particular night left a pretty good impression on my boss at Applebee's. So nothing really bad happened there. It was just embarrassment and then probably a pretty good hangover the next day, and just so luckily it wasn't any worse than that. But well, that said, let's go ahead and do a reading. I have a super good reading today. Uh, it's one of my favorites that I've ran across lately, and so let's see. Let's turn to February 2nd here, and I'll just go ahead and get started. I am renewing your mind. When thoughts flow freely, they tend to move towards problems. Your focus gets snagged on a given problem, circling around and around in an attempt to gain mastery. Your energy is drained from other matters through this negative focus. Worst of all, you lose sight of me. A renewed mind is presence focused. Train your mind to seek me in every moment, every situation. Sometimes you can find me in your surroundings. A lilting bird song, a loved one's smile, golden sunlight. At other times you must draw inward to find me. I am always present in your spirit. Seek my face, speak to me, and I will light up your mind. Wow, I really like this. A lot of things about this one, but just to imagine that your mind's being lit up by God or Jesus or both of them or your higher power. I just love that idea, and I feel like I have experienced that sometimes. Not a lot, but there's definitely been times. And then it says here too, this part where it says, I'm always present in your spirit. And I was talking to a friend about praying and about Jesus, and there's some construction that's just going on, and the timing's always so crazy. Every time I start to make a video, it's either the cats or a dog or a jet flying by or in this case, it happens to be a contractor using a sawzall, but I'm just going to keep going. And, so let's see, I lost my train of thought, so I just got to start again here. Oh yeah, always present in your spirit. So whenever I had prayed when I was younger, even when I was older, I always pictured Jesus being out there somewhere, maybe in the sky. If there was God, I always pictured God was up there somewhere too. And uh, uh, now I got a jet coming, and I got the contractor banging a hammer. But okay, so yeah, God. Okay, so I always pictured God as being outside, but my buddy pointed out to me that He's within us. He's within our spirit. So I hadn't conceptualized it like that. So I thought that was a really, I don't know, that was some really eye-opening insight. I felt like that was really good. And then this idea of renewing your mind too, um, I kind of imagine it as like, say, if you have a dirty cup of water, and then as you start to get your life on track and start to seek God, it's almost like you have a small stream of clear water that begins to run into that glass that's dirty. And that over time, that clean water replaces that dirty water, and that, uh, through the process of praying, staying sober, uh, turning to Jesus when you're having some problems can really you know, can renew you over time, but it does take some time. It's not going to happen in a day. And, uh, and then, remembering to turn to God like right away too is extremely hard. Yesterday I had a couple of really kind of tough issues, and, now the cat's meowing out the door. I'm just going to open the door real quick. Uh, Pretty wonderful production value here at Hope Healing and Daily Recovery. It's just it's really over the top. I hope you all are enjoying it. But I had a couple of really kind of difficult issues to deal with yesterday. They were both relationship involved, and the first one was super unnerving, and I I felt really confused. I really wanted to drink right away because it would really hit me hard, and then I ended up just going for a walk, doing some other stuff, but I forgot. Well, I didn't though. I did turn to, but I didn't turn to Jesus or God right away. It took a little bit, and then I finally just asked for some freedom of thought, freedom from thought of that particular thought, and then on the other one I did pray sooner, but it wasn't until I went through a bunch of machinations in my mind first, and kind of that circus mind or monkey mind was kind of like rolling, um and then eventually I calmed down and I realized that sometimes you can't really make amends, that sometimes that your back history can be so sort of poison and toxic, and all the damage that you created, that there's no turning back and going back and trying to straighten that mess out. It's almost like you just have to abandon ship and start to swim to some faraway shore and find some kind of a refuge. And I still don't know exactly where that shore is, or how to get there, or you know, um, or where. I guess, yeah, it's just that's kind of a mystery to me. What to do about some of those things from the past. I just, despite all the time I've spent in the rooms of AA, all the prayers, all the thinking, um, I still don't have any answers there. And so I guess that's where I'm going to leave it for today. Um, if you've had any things in your past that you feel like are so damaged that all you can do is walk away and swim for another shore and try to renew your mind. I sometimes wonder if you're able to renew your mind, if you don't change your people, places, and things. People tend to hang on to who you were instead of who you are now. I always thought it was interesting that we renew ourselves every 7 years. So our physical body is renewed every 7 years, but the people around you don't know that you're renewing, don't know that that you're not that same person that you were. And I don't know if they can ever view you in a different light, except for that light in the past. You sort of always dwell in the past in their mind. That's who they know you as, that's who they think you still are. And so, yeah, it's very mysterious. Life is very mysterious, and I noticed just for some icing on the cake, the cat jumped up on the setup and shook everything there right at the end. So, well, that's all I have for today. Please comment. We'll see you tomorrow.